Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Monday Night Raw tonight was from the Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio. And this is Monday Night Raw's go-home show for Night of Champions, which is taking place this Saturday. And Monday Night Raw tonight, I thought it was just a very mid-show, in my opinion. It did nothing to hype us up for Night of Champions this Saturday, especially with it being the go-home show. But tonight on Monday Night Raw, we had Braun Breaker. He was in action, and he had taken on Penta. We had the semifinal match of the Queen of the Ring and also the King of the Ring. So for the Queen of the Ring, we had Jade Cargill. She had taken on Roxanne Perez. We had the Women's Intercontinental Championship on the line where Becky Lynch defended the title against Bayley. We also had, of course, the semifinal of the King of the Ring tournament, Cody Rhodes versus Jey Uso, which was the main event of Monday Night Raw tonight. We also had Goldberg getting interviewed by Michael Cole, and Goldberg just talking about how he's going to finish Gunther in Atlanta at Saturday night's main event. So pretty much that was that. But overall, Monday Night Raw, very mid-show was tonight. But anyway, let's jump right into the review. Monday Night Raw open up tonight with Seth Rollins and his group. Of course, Paul Heyman, Bron Breakker, and Bronson Reed. So they all end up making their way out. They got into the ring. Seth got on the mic. He ended up welcoming everyone to Monday Night Rollins. Seth then ended up asking the fans what they want, as they have been giving him mixed signals. So fans were chanting for CM Punk, and Rollins was like, oh, exactly. He ended up going to say that 1 minute they are chanting for CM Punk, the next minute they're chanting for OTC, and the one after that they are barking for the dog, of course, in Bron Breakker. And Rollins was like, after that, they are singing his song. So Seth ended up telling the fans they have no idea what they want, and he doesn't care about what the fans want. Seth then ended up telling the fans that they don't know what is good for them, so they need people like him to tell them what is good for them. So Seth ended up saying that he wants to try an experiment. He ended up going to say that even the things they think they want, that the fans want, are because of him. He ended up saying that Roman Reigns only exists because of him. He ended up saying that CM Punk says he came back to the company because the fans chanted his name. Seth ended up saying that Punk is back in the company because the company wanted to cash in on how much he hates CM Punk. He ended up saying, and that is the truth. He ended up saying, Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare. He ended up saying that there is no second coming of Cody unless he is there to put him on the map. He ended up saying World Championship, he was the first. NXT Championship, he was the first. He ended up saying those things exist as they are because he built them in his image. Seth ended up saying that he is the creator and that he is the past, the present, and the future of this company. So Seth then put his arm around Paul Heyman. He ended up saying that they know a thing or two about revolutions. Seth ended up saying that every revolution faces opposition, and he will deal with that diplomatically until that opposition pushes him and forces his hand. He ended up saying that is what happened to LA Knight. Seth ended up going to say that Knight stuck his nose in their business. And he ended up getting a tsunami after tsunami after tsunami from Bronson Reed for his troubles. He kept saying, and in a few minutes' time, his dog, Bron Breakker, has an opportunity to do the same thing to another person who has been a thorn in their side. And that one person is Penta. So Seth ended up saying that there are a lot of people who think they have what it takes to exist at the very top. He kept saying that champions like John Cena and Gunther, their respective challengers, CM Punk and Goldberg. He kept also saying, or all those left in the King of the Ring, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, and Randy Orton. Rollins ended up saying, but what they failed to understand is that they are all running a race for second place. Seth then, pointing to the Money in the Bank briefcase, he kept saying that that is the finish line, the end game. He kept saying it has and always will be Seth frickin' Rollins. So pretty much that was basically that. After his promo, Penta ended up coming out and Monday Night Raw went to commercial. But this opening was just very meh, in my opinion. Seth almost put me asleep with his promo, and he was just yapping away at, oh, the fans don't know what they want. Oh, they want CM Punk. The next minute, oh, they're chanting for OTC. They're chanting for Roman Reigns. The next, oh, they're barking for Bron Breakker. And after that, oh, they're singing along to my music. And then he just talks about, oh, how he was world champion first, how he was NXT champion first. Pretty much, he was saying all that, and still, he hasn't said a name for the name of his group. Literally, nothing. No name for his group yet. Instead, he just goes on to yap about, oh, the fans don't know what they want. Oh, but that was what I thought of this opening to Monday Night Raw here. Very mid promo from Seth Rollins. Obviously, nothing stuck out of his promo here. Like I said, he was just yapping away. And like I said, still no name for Seth's group here. With him, Bronson Reed, Bron Breakker, and Paul Heyman. When are we going to get a name? And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we had the first match of the night. Bron Breakker. He ended up taking on Penta. Of course, Paul Heyman was at ringside. And this was a good match here. Match got underway. We had Penta end up going to the ropes. He ended up delivering a Hurricanrana, which took Breakker down. Penta got Breakker up, and Penta delivered a springboard crossbody to Breakker. Penta then delivered a kick to the side of Breakker's head, and so Breakker was down in the corner. Penta then delivered a double kick to Breakker, which that led to him rolling to the outside of the ring. Penta went to the ropes, but Breakker ended up getting in the ring, and he backdropped Penta. Breakker ended up stomping on Penta. He lifted Penta up, and he landed a suplex to Penta. Breakker then grabbed Penta, but Penta came back and delivered some right hands to Breakker. Penta went to the ropes, but Breakker delivered a backbreaker to Penta. Breakker ended up going for the cover, and Penta ended up kicking out. Breakker then threw Penta to the ropes. Breakker then ended up running the ropes, and he landed a clothesline to Penta. He then placed Penta on the top rope, and he delivered a right hand to Penta, which dropped Penta to the ring apron. So Breakker was on the second rope. Penta then ended up chopping at Breakker's chest, and he ended up getting in the ring. Penta then ended up landing a Hurricanrana to Breakker, which then Penta delivered a super kick to Breakker, but Breakker stood on his feet. Breakker then ran toward Penta, but Penta lowered the top rope, and Breakker went to the outside. Penta then jumped to the outside, but he got caught by Breakker. Penta then landed on his feet, and he pushed Breakker into the ring post. Penta went back to the ring, he ended up running to the ropes, and he landed a nice senton onto Breakker on the outside. So then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Breakker was in control of the match. He threw Penta into the turnbuckle, but Penta delivered an elbow to Breakker's face. Penta then ran toward Breakker. Breakker then lifted Penta up and dropped Penta onto his knees. He went for the cover, to which Penta kicked out. Breakker then threw Penta to the ropes, but Penta delivered a kick to Breakker's leg. Penta then delivered some chops to Breakker's chest, which he then followed up those chops with a fisherman suplex cover on Breakker. And Breakker ended up kicking out. So Breakker ended up going for the Breakensteiner off the top rope, but he couldn't make the jump off the top rope, and he slipped down. So Breakker ended up getting back up, and he landed the Breakensteiner on Penta. He went for the cover, and Penta kicked out. Breakker went to the ropes, and Penta then delivered a kick to Breakker's face. Penta then ended up going for the Mexican Destroyer, but that got blocked by Breakker. Penta then delivered the DDT to Breakker, which that led to Penta hitting the Mexican Destroyer onto Breakker. So Penta ended up going for the cover, and Breakker ended up kicking out. And I'm like, how did Breakker kick out of the Mexican Destroyer? Crazy. So Penta went to the ropes, and he landed a kick to Breakker. So Penta went to the ropes again, and he ended up going for a springboard off the second rope. But then Breakker speared Penta out of midair. It was a nice spear delivered by Breakker to Penta. So Breakker ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Braun Breakker ended up winning the match. Post-match, Rollins and Bronson Reed end up coming out. Seth then approached the ring. He went over to Penta, and he ended up telling Penta that this is your one warning. Stay out of my way. So pretty much that was basically that. But overall, very good match it was from Breakker and Penta here. Very physical matchup. And then we saw the replay from last week where Liv Morgan ended up injuring her arm. Of course, she had a dislocated shoulder. Corey Graves on commentary, he mentioned that Liv will miss several months of in-ring competition, and this is going to require surgery for Liv, and she will be missing SummerSlam. And the time frame of her return, from what I heard, she might be back maybe in December or January of next year, of 2026. So she returns in December or January 2026, maybe before the Rumble. That'll be good. So then we saw Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce was backstage, and in came AJ Styles. Pearce ended up telling Styles that Dominic Mysterio is hurt, and the match at Night of Champions is called off. So Styles ended up telling Pearce that Dominic is ducking him. So Styles then left the room. The New Day ended up coming in. The New Day ended up telling Pearce that they have an idea for a photo shoot. So Pearce ended up telling the New Day that he wants to talk to them about a match next week, and that they're going to be facing the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Jade McDonough, and the World Tag Team titles will be on the line. So pretty much that was basically that. So New Day is going to be facing the Judgment Day for the World Tag Team titles next week on Monday Night Raw in Pittsburgh. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we had a pre-recorded sit-down interview between Michael Cole and Goldberg. Goldberg ended up telling Michael Cole that there was no way he was going to let Gunther disrespect him. He ended up saying that he took his family as fans, trying to relax and not worry about anything. He ended up saying that he steps into a verbal assault from Gunther. Goldberg ended up telling Michael Cole that the lack of respect that night was unbelievable, and that Gunther disrespected him in front of his wife, son, fans, and his adapted hometown of Atlanta. He ended up saying that he was not going to let that slide, and he was going to get his revenge on Gunther. Goldberg ended up saying that he doesn't care if he has 1 foot in the grave. No one will talk to him like that and get away with it. He ended up saying that Gunther put himself in the spot of him wanted a match. Goldberg ended up saying that Gunther was not going to get away with it, and that he's going to make Gunther pay, and he's going to beat the fuck out of him at Saturday night's main event. So pretty much that is basically what Goldberg had to say. I mean, do I care about this match? No. This is Goldberg's retirement match. So I just don't care. Obviously, Gunther is going to win the match at Saturday night's main event. And then we saw the Judgment Day. And Roxanne Perez was backstage. Finn Balor ended up saying that Liv Morgan would not want them just sitting around, and it's time for Dominic to get cleared. He then ended up telling Roxanne that she will go on to become Queen of the Ring. He ended up saying that him and Jade McDonough will become new tag team champions next week, and that Raquel is the women's tag team champions. So Balor ended up telling Raquel that they need her as the enforcer, and the enforcer they know would make Rhea Ripley pay for what she did last week. So Dominic ended up saying that he misses Liv, and Roxanne ended up putting her arm on Dominic. And she ended up telling Dominic that everything will be okay. And Dominic ended up wishing Roxanne luck on her match. And pretty much that was basically that. And then we saw Bayley. Bayley was warming up, and Lyra Valkyria ended up approaching Bayley. Lyra ended up apologizing for what happened last week. So both Bayley and Lyra were briefly arguing for a bit. Bayley ended up apologizing to Lyra. She ended up saying that this match tonight has been on her mind all week. She ended up telling Lyra that when she beats Becky, she will be first in line for a title match. There you go. And then we had the semifinals of the Queen of the Ring tournament. Jade Cargill versus Roxanne Perez. This was not a good match, in my opinion. Very sloppy. Match got underway. Roxanne Perez got out of the ring, and she ended up walking around. Roxanne got back into the ring, and both her and Cargill were about to lock up. Once again, Roxanne Perez left the ring. She got on the ring apron. Roxanne got back into the ring, and she had pinned Cargill with a slap, and she slid under the ropes to the outside. Cargill went to the outside, and she started chasing Roxanne, but Roxanne ended up getting back into the ring. Jay got back into the ring, and Roxanne Perez locked in a headlock on Cargill. Cargill threw Perez into the corner. Perez ended up going for a kick to Cargill, but it got blocked by her. So Cargill delivered a right hand to Perez. Cargill lifted Perez up and threw her back into the corner. Cargill ended up going for a clothesline. Perez ended up ducking, and she ended up hitting Cargill with a right hand. Perez ended up rolling back out to the outside of the ring. Cargill ended up chasing Perez, and both women were back in the ring. A lot of spots here in the beginning openings of this match with Perez just going to the outside. Nothing to do with Cargill. So Perez ended up going to the ropes, but Cargill ended up picking Perez up and slammed Perez onto the canvas. Cargill ended up delivering a right hand to Perez, and Perez was on the ring apron. So Perez ended up hanging Cargill up on the second rope. Perez got back into the ring. She ended up running to the ropes, but Cargill came back and delivered a backbreaker to Perez. So Cargill was just showing off. She was doing some push-ups as Perez ended up rolling to the outside. Once again, Perez rolls to the outside. So Cargill ended up chasing Perez. She ended up landing a back elbow to Perez's mouth. Cargill lifted Perez up on her shoulders, and Cargill ended up walking up the ring steps, but Perez ended up landing on her feet, and she tripped Cargill up on the ring steps. Perez ended up landing a drop kick on Jade's leg, which ended up hitting the steel steps. So then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Perez was in control of the match. Perez delivered a chop to the back of Cargill's leg. She then delivered a springboard moonsault onto Cargill. So Perez ended up going for the cover, and Cargill kicked out. Perez ended up locking a sleeper hold on Cargill, but Cargill ended up slamming Perez into the turnbuckle to break up the sleeper hold. Perez was on the top rope. She jumped off the top, but got caught by Cargill. And Cargill ended up landing a fallaway slam on Perez. We had Cargill end up delivering some right hands and a spine buster to Perez. Cargill then delivered a choke slam onto Perez. She ended up going for the cover, and Perez ended up kicking out. Cargill then delivered a super kick onto Perez. She ended up going for Jaded, but Perez rolled Cargill up. She ended up bridging into a cover, but Cargill kicked out. So, at the end of the match, we had Jade lifting Perez up, and she ended up hitting Jaded on Perez. She ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Jade Cargill ended up winning the match, so she'll be facing Asuka in the final match of the Queen of the Ring tournament, which will be taking place this Saturday at Night of Champions. Post-match, Jade walked towards the crown that was shown on the ramp, and Asuka ended up coming out. Asuka came out, and she looked at Cargill. So both Asuka and Cargill ended up going face to face, and pretty much that was basically that. Overall, very sloppy match this was between Cargill and Perez. Not a good match, in my opinion. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Sheamus was with the Alpha Academy, Maxine Dupree and Akira Tozawa, and also Natalya. And once again, I say, why is the Alpha Academy still a thing? So Rusev ended up coming in. Rusev got in Sheamus' face. Rusev ended up telling Sheamus that he does his damage in the ring like a god, while Sheamus does it backstage like a snake. So Sheamus ended up telling Rusev that he was nothing in the League of Nations, and that he is tired of talking. So Sheamus ended up telling Rusev it is time to put up or shut up. To which Rusev ended up telling Sheamus that he will make him remember this. And pretty much that was basically that. So Sheamus versus Rusev, whenever that happens, it's going to be a very good match. And I'm looking forward to it. And then we had Gunther. Gunther, the World Heavyweight Champion, he ended up coming out. He cut a promo on Goldberg. So he got on the mic. He ended up saying that last week. He was supposed to celebrate regaining the World Heavyweight Championship. He ended up saying Goldberg came out and told him that he was next. Gunther wanted to say that he did a lot of thinking, and he thought about what it means to be next. He ended up saying usually it means being speared. 1, 2, 3, and that's it. Gunther ended up saying that Goldberg is the most destructive man of his generation. He ended up saying that it's not 1999 anymore. It's 2025. And right now, he is the guy. Gunther ended up saying that he is the best professional wrestler in the company. And the title proves it. Which I agree. Goldberg is one of the best in WWE. He ended up saying that there is nothing Goldberg can say that will change his perception of him. He ended up saying that perception is he sees a 50-year-old one-trick pony that cannot lace his boots. Gunther then apologized to Goldberg's wife and son for everything he is going to do to the man that used to be Goldberg. Gunther ended up saying that he's not like anyone he ever stepped in the ring with. He ended up saying that it is his responsibility to make sure that the legacy and the myth of Bill Goldberg forever dies. So that was what Gunther had to say. But good promo from Gunther here. Much better than Goldberg's interview earlier. But this is going to be a 5-minute match at Saturday night's main event. This match is just going to be jackhammer, spear, 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 jackhammer, cover, kick out, spear, jackhammer, cover. That's all it's going to be. But we all know that Gunther is going to win the match. And then we saw Jackie Redmond. Jackie Redmond was backstage with Becky Lynch. Becky ended up telling Jackie that she just saw Bayley and Lyra conspire against her. So then Becky ended up walking away. Jackie Redmond then ended up walking, and she approached Sami Zayn. Jackie Redmond ended up asking Sami how he is processing his loss to Randy Orton on SmackDown on Friday. To which Randy Orton won his match against Sami Zayn in the quarterfinals of the King of the Ring tournament. So, before Sami could speak to Jackie Redmond, he got interrupted by Karrion Kross, who was with Scarlett, of course. So Kross ended up telling Sami that he believed what he said last week. But what happened was that Sami wrestled the Viper, and he lost. Kross ended up telling Sami that he will never be world champion. Sami then looked at Kross. He ended up telling Kross, okay. And then Sami then ended up decking Kross with a right hand. Sami ended up telling Kross that he is done talking to him. He ended up saying that he talked to Adam Pearce and that their match is official. Sami then ended up telling Kross, TikTok. So Scarlett and Kross then looked at each other and they started laughing. So Kross ended up telling Scarlett, I got him. There you go. It's going to be a good match between Sami and Karrion Kross. And then we had Becky Lynch versus Bayley. This was for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And this was okay, in my opinion. Match got underway. Bayley ended up getting Becky in the corner. She ended up hitting Becky with some right hands. Bayley ended up delivering an elbow to the back of Becky. She ended up going for another elbow to Becky, but Becky ended up rolling out of it. And she ended up going for this armor, to which Bayley ended up getting out of that. Bayley went for the Rose plant, but Becky ended up tripping Bayley up. So Becky was on the ring apron. Bayley ended up hanging Becky up on the second rope, and Becky then fell to the outside. Bayley then ended up slamming Becky face first into the barricade, and then she ended up sending Becky back into the ring. Bayley then climbed the second rope. She ended up going for a double axe, but Becky ended up catching Bayley's arm. So Becky ended up going for this armor, but Bayley delivered a right hand to Becky. Bayley then climbed the second rope, but Becky ended up slamming Bayley's arm onto the top rope, and Bayley then fell to the outside. So then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Bayley was in control of the match. She delivered a running knee to Becky, which was followed up by a modified side slam. She ended up going for the cover, but Becky ended up kicking out. Bayley ended up going for the Bayley to belly, but Becky ended up landing on her feet, and she landed a back body drop to Bayley. So Bayley then delivered a sunset flip into the turnbuckle to Becky. She ended up going for the cover, but Becky kicked out. Yeah, at one point where Bayley ended up going for Becky's finisher, the manhandle slam, to which Becky then rolled out of the ring as Bayley was going for the cover on Becky. So Bayley went to the outside. Becky then threw Bayley over the commentary table. Becky then ended up grabbing some steel chairs. She placed the steel chairs on top of Bayley, so Bayley wouldn't get up from being, under the steel chairs. So Becky got back into the ring, and Lyra Valkyria ended up coming out to try to help Bayley. So Becky went to the outside. She ended up hitting Lyra with a right hand. Becky got back into the ring. Lyra was on the ring apron. So Becky was basically like, oh, come on, hit me. But Bayley ended up pulling Lyra down. She got on the ring apron. Becky then ended up knocking her down, and Becky delivered a baseball slide onto Lyra. Bayley then ended up throwing Becky over the commentary table. She grabbed Becky and threw her into the ring post. Bayley then threw Becky into the barricade, and she ended up sending Becky back to the ring. Bayley then ended up climbing the top rope, and in came Lyra Valkyria. Lyra ended up hitting Becky with some right hands, and the ref called for the bell. So the match ended in a disqualification, and Becky Lynch retains the Women's Intercontinental Championship, because we all know title changes don't happen on a disqualification. So post-match, Bayley ended up getting very angry at Lyra for coming to the ring and attacking Becky. So both Bayley and Lyra were arguing in the ring, and Becky was at ringside. She was smiling at what was going down in the ring with Bayley and Lyra arguing. And so pretty much that was basically that. But this signals that Lyra is going to be turned heel. So at some point we're going to be getting Bayley versus Lyra at some point. Overall, okay match it was between Becky Lynch and Bayley. Of course, these two know each other very well. They have good chemistry in the ring. And they were, of course, once part of the Four Horsewomen, where it was, Becky, Bayley, Charlotte, and Mercedes Moné when she was known as Sasha Banks. And then we saw Chad Gable. Chad Gable was with Ivy Nile. Gable ended up motivating Ivy Nile. But he then saw Penta. Chad Gable ended up telling Penta that it was his pleasure to watch Braun Breaker destroy him earlier in the night. So this pissed off Penta. Penta then pushed Gable. Gable ended up going for a right hand, to which Penta ducked the right hand. So Penta then ended up going for the sacrifice on Gable, to which he did. So pretty much that was basically that. And then Raquel Rodriguez was in the ring. Raquel looked very angry. And she ended up calling out Rhea. She ended up telling Rhea that she can drag her out there with her nose ring, or she could come out and get her beaten. So Rhea Ripley ended up coming out. She came marching down to the ring. Rhea then got into the ring, and she had pinned Raquel with some right hands. Rhea then delivered a big boot to Raquel, to which Raquel rolled to the outside. Rhea then went to the outside, but she ended up getting speared by Raquel. Raquel speared Rhea into the ring apron, and Raquel then threw Rhea over the timekeeper's area. Raquel then pulled the table from under the ring. Of course, we had the Slim Jim logo on the table, which looks absolutely fucking stupid. So Raquel then turned around, and Rhea climbed the commentary table. And she had pinned Raquel with her right hand. Rhea then threw Raquel into the ring steps. Rhea then set the table up in the ring. She then ended up going for Riptide to Raquel through the table, but out came Roxanne Perez. Rhea then lifted Roxanne up. She ended up slamming Roxanne face first on the turnbuckle. So Rhea then turned around, and Raquel then picked Rhea up, and she ended up hitting the Tejada bomb to Rhea through the table, and that was basically that. But obviously, we're going to be getting Raquel versus Rhea. So this pretty much sets it up. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Rhea Ripley ended up going into Adam Pearce's office. Rhea Ripley ended up telling Pearce that she wants Raquel Rodriguez. And Adam Pearce ended up telling Rhea that she has Raquel. And that the match is official. So there you go. Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez. But special note here for Monday Night Raw for next week. It has a start time for 6 o'clock. So next Monday, Monday Night Raw is going to be on at 6 o'clock on Netflix. So anybody, that's going to watch Monday Night Raw next week, the show will finish at, maybe 8:30. So you'll get to relax on your Monday night and do whatever. But yeah, Monday Night Raw is on at 6 o'clock next week. Main event. Cody Rhodes versus Jey Uso. Semifinals match in the King of the Ring tournament. Very good match this was, but really, do I need to go over who won this match? If you said Cody Rhodes, ding, 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 you get nothing. You obviously guessed it. Yeah, Cody Rhodes won the match. Cody delivered the crossroads to Jey. He went for the cover, and Cody ended up winning the match. So Cody now faces Randy Orton in the final of the King of the Ring tournament at Night of Champions. Should be a good match there with Cody and Randy Orton. Post-match, Cody and Jey were face-to-face, and they shook hands. They gave, a share of respect, and that was how Monday Night Raw went off the air. Overall, very mid Monday Night Raw this was. But anyway, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and tune in tomorrow, of course, on my buddy Luke Ponto's channel as me and him do another episode of the Movie Fanatics. This is episode 21 that we're going to be doing tomorrow. So definitely tune in 8 o'clock Eastern on Luke Ponto's channel. And until next video, I'll see you all later.